Passage 1. The Shepherd Boy and the Wolf. A shepherd boy tended his master's sheep near a dark forest not far from the village. Soon he found life in the pasture very dull. All he could do to amuse himself was to talk to his dog or play on his shepherd's pipe. One day, as he sat watching the sheep in the quiet forest and thinking what he would do should he see a wolf, he thought of a plan to amuse himself. His master had told him to call for help should a wolf attack the flock, and the villagers would drive it away. So now, though he had not seen anything that even looked like a wolf, he ran toward the village, shouting at the top of his voice, "Wolf! Wolf!" As he expected, the villagers who heard the cry dropped their work and ran in great excitement to the pasture. But when they got there, they found the boy doubled up with laughter at the trick he had played on them. A few days later, the shepherd boy again shouted, "Wolf! Wolf!" Again, the villagers ran to help him, only to be laughed at again. Then one evening, as the sun was setting behind the forest and the shadows were creeping out over the pasture, a wolf really did spring from the underbrush and fall upon the sheep. In terror, the boy ran towards the village, shouting, "Wolf! Wolf!" But though the villagers heard the cry, they did not run to help him as they had before. "He cannot fool us again," they said. The wolf killed a great many of the boy's sheep and then slipped away into the forest. Number 1. What is the shepherd boy's perspective throughout most of the story? A. It would be fun to play a trick on the villagers. B. Playing tricks on others is irresponsible. C. Tending to sheep is difficult work. D. Telling lies is harmful. Passage 2. Excerpt from The Secret Garden. At that very moment, such a loud sound of wailing broke out from the servants' quarters that she clutched the young man's arm, and Mary stood shivering from head to foot. The wailing grew wilder and wilder. "What is it? What is it?" Mrs. Lennox gasped. "Someone has died," answered the boy officer. "You did not say it had broken out among your servants." "I did not know," the Mem Sahib cried. "Come with me, come with me." And she turned and ran into the house. After that, appalling things happened, and the mysteriousness of the morning was explained to Mary. The cholera had broken out in its most fatal form, and people were dying like flies. There was panic on every side, and dying people in all of the bungalows. During the confusion and bewilderment of the second day, Mary hid herself in the nursery and was forgotten by everyone. Nobody thought of her, nobody wanted her, and strange things happened of which she knew nothing. Mary alternately cried and slept through the hours. Many things happened during the hours in which she slept so heavily, but she was not disturbed by the wails and the sounds of things being carried in and out of the bungalow. The noise and hurrying about the wailing over the cholera had frightened her, and she had been angry because no one seemed to remember that she was alive. Everyone was too panic-stricken to think of a little girl no one was fond of. When people had the cholera, it seemed that they remembered nothing but themselves. But if everyone had got well again, surely someone would remember and come to look for her. Almost the next minute, she heard footsteps in the compound and then on the veranda. They were men's footsteps, and the men entered the bungalow and talked in low voices. No one went to meet or speak to them, and they seemed to open doors and look into rooms. "What desolation," she heard one voice say. "That pretty, pretty woman. I suppose the child, too. I heard there was a child, though no one ever saw her." Mary was standing in the middle of the nursery when they opened the door a few minutes later. She looked an ugly, cross little thing and was frowning because she was beginning to be hungry and feel disgracefully neglected. The first man who came in was a large officer she had once seen talking to her father. He looked tired and troubled, but when he saw her, he was so startled that he almost jumped back. "Barney," he cried out, "there's a child in here, a child alone, in a place like this. Mercy on us, who is she?" "I am Mary Lennox," the little girl said, drawing herself up stiffly. She thought the man was very rude to call her father's bungalow a place like this. "I fell asleep when everyone had the cholera, and I have just only wakened up. Why does nobody come?" "It is the child no one ever saw," exclaimed the man, turning to his companions. She has actually been forgotten. Why was I forgotten? Mary said, stamping her foot. Why does nobody come? The young man, whose name was Barney, looked at her very sadly. Mary even thought she saw him wink his eyes as if to wink away tears. Poor little kid, he said. There's nobody left to come. It was in that strange and sudden way that Mary found out that she had neither father nor mother left, that they had died and been carried away in the night, and that the few native servants who had not died also had left the house as quickly as they could get out of it, none of them even remembering that she was a Mrs. Sahib. Barney, he cried out, there's a child in here, a child alone in a place like this. Mercy on us, who is she? How does this sentence create dramatic irony for the reader? A. Readers know people are dying of cholera before the characters know. B. Readers know why no one likes Mary before Mary does. C. Readers know why the servants are dying before Mary knows. D. Readers know that Mary's parents died and is an orphan before Mary does. What is Mary's perspective after she hides in the nursery? A. She thinks it's wrong that no one is looking for her. B. She thinks her mother is mean for forgetting about her. C. She thinks the people should not be worried about the cholera. D. She thinks the servants should have protected her. What is the large officer's perspective regarding the situation at Mary's house? A. He thinks it's wonderful that Mary survived the cholera outbreak. B. He thinks the servants were wrong to leave the house. C. He thinks it's horrible that no one knew Mary was in the nursery. D. He thinks Mary would have been better off if she had not been found. Passage 3, the fight. Cassandra sat at the back of the school bus, staring out of the window. She was still reeling from the fight she had had with her mother that morning. All she wanted was to go to Diane's sleepover on Friday, but her mother said that Cassandra had to stay home and babysit her brother Stephen. Cassandra fought back tears as she remembered the heated argument she had had with her mother earlier that morning. Mom, why can't I go to Diane's sleepover? Cassie, you know I have to work late. But Mom, this is really important to me. Can't Grandma watch Stephen? You know your grandmother hasn't been feeling well, and besides, Stephen would be too much for her to handle all by herself. Money's tight right now, so I'm counting on you to help me out when I have to work late. Well, all I know is that ever since you and Dad got divorced, I never get to do anything fun. Please let me go to the sleepover. I'm sorry, Cassandra, but you're babysitting your brother on Friday, and I don't want to hear another word about it. Don't you think that I would like to be home Friday night rather than having to work? Fine, be that way. It's obvious that you don't care about me at all. Cassandra yelled as she walked out the door. Miss Andrews sighed as her daughter slammed the door. She knew that Cassandra knew how much she loved her and how bad she felt about having to work long hours to make ends meet. Tears stung Cassandra's eyes as she walked to the bus stop. She knew her mother cared about her, but it didn't change the fact that she was angry. She was so mad at her parents for getting divorced that she was determined to make her mother's life as miserable as her mother was making hers. What is Cassandra's perspective? A. She thinks her parents don't love her. B. She thinks her mother is being unfair to her. C. She wishes she was an only child. D. She thinks her mother should quit her job. How would this passage be different if it were told from the mother's perspective? A. The reader would know why Cassandra's parents got divorced. B. The reader would know that the mother thinks Cassandra is a selfish person. C. The reader would know that the mother depends on Cassandra to take care of Stephen while she is at work. D. The reader would know why Mrs. Andrews is so mean to Cassandra. Which sentence from the passage reveals dramatic irony? A. She knew that Cassandra knew how much she loved her and how bad she felt about having to work long hours to make ends meet. B. She was so mad at her parents for getting divorced that she was determined to make her mother's life as miserable as her mother was making hers. C. She was still reeling from the fight she had with her mother that morning. D. Cassandra fought back tears as she remembered the heated argument she had had with her mother earlier that morning. Passage 4. Sheba. My cat Sheba is a pretty, fluffy, friendly cat. She loves to greet my friends when they come over to play. One day, my friend Sally came over. We were on my bed studying when Sheba jumped on the bed. She started purring and rubbing her head on Sally's leg. All of a sudden, Sally started yelling and crying. "No, no, get your cat away from me," said Sally. "She's trying to bite me." "Oh, Sally, Sheba just wants you to pet her. She's not going to bite you," I said. Sally was crying and shaking. I did not know why Sally was acting like this. Sheba is the sweetest cat in the world and would never bite anyone. "Please get Sheba away from me. I don't like cats. They scare me," said Sally. "Okay," I said. "I'll take her downstairs." I picked up Sheba and took her to the kitchen. I stood there shaking my head. How could Sally be scared of Sheba? What is Sally's perspective about cats? A. Sheba is a nice cat. B. Sheba is a sweet cat. C. Sheba is a scary cat. D. Sheba is a pretty cat. What is the narrator's perspective about Sheba? A. Sheba is sweet and friendly. B. Sheba is annoying. C. Sheba is scary. D. The narrator is indifferent towards Sheba. Which of these is how you, as the reader, might feel about Sheba after reading the passage? If Sally petted Sheba, she would think Sheba is a nice cat. B. Sheba is nice, but her owner should not let Sheba scare Sally. C. Sheba is a nice cat, so Sally has no reason to be afraid of Sheba. D. Sheba is nice to the narrator, but Sheba may not be nice to Sally.